All right, let's talk Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl championship Kansas City Chiefs. As we head into the 2023 offseason, it becomes clearer and clearer that the Chiefs are the preeminent number one franchise in all of the NFL. Obviously, the best quarterback, in my opinion, in Patrick Mahomes. Arguably the best coach, if not the best, one of the best coaches in Andy Reid. Great organization from the top down. Great roster, both sides of the football, special teams as well. Good coaching staff. Obviously, losing Bieniemy, I don't think will hurt as much as people think it was. I think he's a good coach, but he's not the whole factory there on the offensive side of the ball. But there's a report out detailing exactly why the Chiefs are in such a strong position and why they're one of the more smarter run teams, if not the smartest team in all the NFL, and why they're even scarier going to the future than maybe they've been in the past, as crazy as that sounds. But before I get into that report, Chiefs fans, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. As we head into the offseason, the Chiefs will, as every NFL team does, they add players, they get rid of players, whether it's through free agency, draft, trades, whatever it may be. Give me one guy in the comment section, that one Kansas City Chief that you think the Chiefs should get rid of. You know, a guy who you think is dragging down the roster a little bit. Look, he's obviously not dragging down the roster too much. They just won the Super Bowl. But give me one current Chief that you think the Chiefs need to get rid of. That way, a little addition by subtraction, you will. And give me that guy in the comment section below. All right, as we head into the offseason, sort of the prevailing topics that you hear going around a lot is really about the salary cap. And for those of you who aren't familiar, salary cap is essentially the amount of dollars a team can allocate to the players on their roster each given year. And that's set based off league-wide revenues and things like that. It's a formula that goes into it, but basically it's how much money can you pay per players in each given season. So there are two factors to it. There's cap space available. How much money do you have left, or how much are you over? And then you have to reduce your salary cap by cutting players or trading players or getting rid of the players however you can. The other thing that I think isn't talked about as much, but I think it's a sign of a really smart, well-run team, is dead money. And dead money on the salary cap is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It's money that is allocated to players against the salary cap that aren't on your team anymore. So how that works, let's say you sign a player to a 5-year, $50 million deal, fully guaranteed, right? And after year 2, you have to cut him. That means, so $10 million per year, right? 5-year, $50 million. That means for years 3, 4, and 5, he's $10 million against your cap, your salary cap, your allocation of salary for dollars to pay players each of those given seasons, even though he's not on your roster anymore. That's obviously not a good sign. You don't want to have portion of your salary cap allocated to players who don't even play for your team anymore. That's kind of dumb. Bad teams do that. And right, one of the things that happens when you get in that situation, sort of a couple factors that can have that situation come up. Either a team overpaid for a player, right? And so they were too aggressive, they paid too much for a player, and then he didn't turn out to be very good, so they cut him just to move on and cut their losses. That's obviously not a situation you want to be in. Good organizations really don't tend to overpay for players who aren't that good. Or number 2, right? Let's say you paid a player and he's actually a good player, but you overpaid and made mistakes in other parts of your roster, and so you just have to do cap dumps just to get rid of these players. The Tennessee Titans, for example, have started doing that a lot so far this offseason. The Chiefs are neither of those things. The Chiefs have been absolutely fantastic. So the Chiefs have the fewest dead money allocated against their cap in 2023 over every single other NFL team. Just to get the exact number here, the Chiefs have currently $98,428 of dead money against their cap going into 2023. Now, that may sound like a lot of money, but I put up a little chart here for you guys to explain exactly where the dead money ranks in the NFL. There it is. So the Philadelphia Eagles have the most dead money against their cap in 2023, about $46 million. The NFL average is about $9 million, a little more than $9 million. The Chiefs, like I said, were $98,000, about $100,000. You can look at the size of the chart there, right? The Chiefs are basically zero, right? They basically have statistically zero dead money, and they're just so far outpacing the rest of the league, right? The NFL average is $9 million, and the Chiefs just aren't even close. They don't even show up on that chart. And that's how you know the Chiefs are just one of the smartly run franchises, if not the smartest franchise in the entire NFL, because that means every move they make, whether they bring in a guy, through a trade or free agency, a veteran hire, he fits a role that they need him to do. They're not overpaying for a player, and they're not getting a production that they want out of that player. Right, so they're bringing in a player. Let's say they're bringing in a veteran. Frank Clark's a great example who we're going to talk about a little bit. They brought him in to be a situational pass rusher. They gave him a lot of money. He does a great job. Right, they brought in Orlando Brown. Right, there's going to be some contract discussions there, but so far they're happy with that. They're not moving off of him, right, because they like what he's doing. Based on the salary cap, he's filling the role that they want him to fit, and that's how you know the Chiefs, as they head into the offseason, are in such a strong position. Because a lot of other teams, you see the Eagles here are a great example. Already portions of their salary cap, the constraints on how much money they can spend per players is already allocated to players who aren't even going to be on the team. So that just puts an artificial limit to the number of moves you can make. When you have almost no, or in this case, basically zero dead money, the Chiefs' windows of opportunity are wide open. And so that leads me to the Frank Clark discussion. Let's pull up a picture of Clark. There he is. So obviously Frank Clark he's got a big cap hit, right? $21 million, I think, according to overthecap.com. Let me confirm that real quick. Yeah, his cap hit is $28.7 million in 2023. That's pretty big. If they cut Frank Clark this offseason, as some people have been rumored that the Chiefs might do, they would save $21 million and then have about $8 million of dead money, like I alluded to. So the Chiefs have one of two options here when it comes to Clark, right? I think cutting him can make sense if you're looking to make other moves. And right, you're not worried about taking on the dead salary there for at least 1 year. Because remember, 2023 is the last year of Frank Clark's deal. If you cut Clark, you free up that cap space and you can make a move for somebody else if you think there's somebody better. Or more likely, because I just won a Super Bowl with the guy who had a great postseason, you're like, listen, I know the cap hit's big. I know his sack numbers the last 2 years, I think 9.5 sacks combined the last 2 seasons, aren't nearly worth a $28 million cap hit. But when it comes to our overall roster construction, we're actually getting just enough value for that player, that pass rusher, because you're paying Frank Clark, or the salary cap hit for Frank Clark is basically trying to get the productivity when you need it most, situational pass rusher, especially in the playoffs, big games. And he's done fantastic in that scenario. So if the Chiefs continue to hold on to the belief that Clark can produce in those situations, which I think he can, and I think the Chiefs will, they'll take the cap hit and be happy about it. Like, they're fine with that because the roster is obviously a Super Bowl roster. They know they draft very well, so they don't have to worry about it too much. And even if they go the other route, though, because their dead money is so low, like I said, basically zero, they can take $6-7 million of dead money for one season, 2023, and not have to worry about the long-term limits and constraints on making other moves, right, going forward in 2023 and beyond. And that's basically my final point here with the Kansas City Chiefs. When you make smart moves, when you do things smart, when you don't overpay, when you draft well, when you don't put yourself in bad salary cap positions, you have flexibility. You can keep veteran players that were part of Super Bowl runs, or you can cut them and move on, or you can potentially trade them, or you can do a little bit of both. Restructure his deal, lower the cap hit a little bit, and bring in somebody else. Right? There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of potential paths you can take, and you only get those opportunities. You only see those paths when you're smart. And that's why when we start this offseason right now, this is just the way you want to start the offseason if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. Now that the final results of the salary cap numbers from last season have rolled in and we see where the cap situations are with each and every team, the fact that the Chiefs, I'm going to go back to this picture here just because I think it's absolutely ridiculous when it comes to dead money. The fact that the Chiefs are this smart to be in that situation when it comes to dead money proves that this team isn't going to get any worse. They're going to be better because they're smart. Smart teams stay smart. Smart teams keep winning. And that's exactly what we're seeing from the Kansas City Chiefs.